we're back from lunch, I do hope it hasn't sent you off for an early siesta. Before we start the next panel, we are going to be joined by a director of the Mosaic Foundation, David Game. David is the founder and principal of the David Game College and chairman of the David Game Group. Prior to establishing David Game College in 1974, over 50 years ago, Mr. Game spent many years as a maths tutor, successfully imparting his enthusiasm for mathematical concepts to his students. As principal of the DGC and chairman of the DGG, he prioritises the same combination of strong subject knowledge and a passion for teaching when appointing educators. David holds an MA in Mathematics from New College, Oxford, and an MPhil in Number Theory from University College London. Given that education is one of the core missions of Mosaic Foundation, his expertise and experience are invaluable. David. Hi.
Hello.
Yes. We hear you. We hear you.
Well, it's a great pleasure and an honour to be invited to the rescue, and I'm afraid I was not able to attend. Very unfortunately, some of my associates have invited me here to Switzerland, and to meet some important meetings up here and enjoying the amazing countryside and the wonderful air. And I should have been with you in Cambridge, but I've heard that all day yesterday there's a great deal of discussion, and now my wonderful idea of getting all the factions to hammer out the way forward with unity is what you're working on. And I am very, very happy to hear that. And I hear that the rest of today is a discussion to finalise what you have achieved yesterday. So all I can say is I very, very much hope that Dalmai's wishes will indeed be achieved. Admiration for Dalmai is amazing. I've known him for many years through my friend David Cecil, who is also an unborn with me on this Mosaic charity. And we were going to start a school in Afghanistan at the very time when the Taliban took over, unfortunately. But I have an associate school in Pakistan. I know that country very well. I'm ready to get involved in Afghanistan any way I can as soon as possible. And I just very much hope, I have not realised before, being interested on, that there are so many different factions in Afghanistan, and the whole country has failed to unite the factions before. And that is what he is working on. And all I can say is, I give him my absolute wholehearted support, and I think he is achieving with this conference. I went to the conference 3 years ago. Sorry I haven't been since, but I will definitely look forward to seeing you all next year. So thank you very much for listening to me, and now you should please carry on with the rest of your valuable discussion. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And now on to the first roundtable, chaired by Ambassador Nasir and Andisha, Afghan's permanent representative of the UN in Geneva, with Zahra Joya, Mr. Masood Amer, and Professor Abubakar Muttaqi. Dr. Nasir is a career diplomat and academic. He was Foreign Minister of Afghanistan from 2015 to 2019 and continues to hold the title of Permanent Representative of Afghanistan to the UN in Geneva for the officially recognised government. He has served as Vice President of the UN Human Rights Council. He is also co-founder and senior advisor of the Centre for Dialogue and Progress in Geneva. He received a doctoral degree in diplomatic studies from the Australian National University in 2015. Andisha was a Fulbright Fellow at the Bush School of Government at Texas A&M University. He worked with the International Committee of the Red Cross as a field officer and taught international relations at the Institute of Diplomacy of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Afghanistan and the Al-Azhar University in Afghanistan. Ms. Zahra Joya is a journalist from Afghanistan known for her brave work in advocating for women's rights and freedom of expression. She is the founder of Rukhshana Media, an online platform dedicated to telling stories of Afghan women. After the Taliban takeover in 2021, Joya was forced to leave Afghanistan, but she has continued her journalistic work in exile. She has received several international awards recognising her bravery and commitment to independent journalism. Mr. Masood Amer is an international development expert with extensive experience in state-building, governance and anti-corruption. Over a 12-year period, he served as Assistant Country Director and Head of the Democratic Governance Programme with the United Nations Development Programme in Afghanistan. His experience also includes roles as governance expert with Transparency International UK's Global Defence and Security Programme and as Senior Programme Manager with HealthProm in London. In August 2020, he founded the Centre for Afghanistan Policy Studies, CAS, which work as a policy-oriented think tank on Afghanistan. He currently serves as the elected head of the steering committee of the Civil and Democratic Forces Network, the coalition of over 40 CSO organisations, also known as the Anglo Process on Afghanistan. He completed his postgraduates in management and international law from the University of Liverpool and currently works as postgraduate researcher and doctoral student at the University of Sussex. Dr. Muttaqi is Professor of Sharia and Law. He is the founder of the Al-Azhar Higher Education Institute based in Kabul. He served in the Afghan government and judiciary positions from 2005 to 2022. He was previously a lecturer at Kabul University and Al-Azhar University in Cairo. Dr. Muttaqi resides in Turkey and sits on the board of the FFTA. Working with non-Muslims or even Muslims from other sects carries risks for Afghan people, from social disapproval to becoming a target for the authorities. In light of these challenges, Dr. Muttaqi will address interfaith cooperation from a Muslim perspective. You have the floor.
Thank you very much for the introduction. And I understand that this is probably one of our last panels, and we are all exhausted. But I'm glad that the room is full, and we have a very important dialogue. Hopefully, the idea of this panel will be that it will be more an interaction rather than we giving lectures and presentations. If I can set the scene, is that of course it's relevant, it's related to what we have been listening and discussing for the past 1.5 days. But at this particular session, which I'm wearing my different hat, also different clothes since yesterday, no ties. This is the elements of the civil society, or what society can do, because in one hand it's about the international players, geopolitics in Afghanistan. Because if you look at Afghanistan only from the lens of geopolitics and what the great powers are doing, I think the agency of people of Afghanistan could always be dismissed. And that makes it very difficult. I mean, it's somehow so disappointing to feel that, you're a sandwich, you're, part of the great game, you don't have any agency, Trump's one background, somebody else wants something else, and you don't have any agency yourself. But then, and it can also, it's easy to blame the foreign actors. But I think the lens we are going to look at it right now, and what we're also doing in Geneva as part of the Center for Dialogue and Progress, this network, and together with Ustaz Sharani and others, we started in 2018 in Kabul, was that what is the role of society itself? What are the role of the civil actors in Afghanistan? I know it's kind of a misnomer, because every time in Afghanistan you have a small civil society around major centers, Kabul, Kandahar, Herat, Jalalabad, Mazar, Kunduz, and these areas. Then a political upheaval have sort of uprooted that civil society, and they moved outside as migrants, and then slowly, after a couple of years, another civil society was built. And then with a new wave of revolution, so every time we're losing that, what we call the cream of society. And those are the people who can bring the real changes, the bottom-up changes, where you can create states which can have sustainability. Those are, if you call it the elites, even elites are a good thing, but still, those are the people that they can sustain states. But in the past 20 years, we thought that we almost created a good enough civil society, that will be able to take the onslaught of a very extremist group like Taliban and can moderate it and can generate, a group of governing communities which can be somewhere in the middle. But the way that evacuation happened, the way that the peace process unfolded, the way the fall happened, so we had again another exodus, where prevented the civil society to be the shock observer of this extremist onslaught. And if you look at the evacuation, not only for the civil society but also on the military political side, so we lost those people who could actually stood on the ground and work to sustain the changes of past 20 years. So the lens that we are looking at this discussion right now is, since again we are in an academic place, is the sort of social change theory. How the society will change and what are this element of social change, which includes political, civil, cultural, economic, technology, everything together. But I think the problem is that we lost that. So what happened was that quickly after 2021, in August, September, the civil society and some of the former officials, everybody got together. We said, like, what can we do to really help those who are still resisting inside Afghanistan, because it was the women movement. They started a little bit of civil resistance in the country. But how the civil society in exile could really help the civil society inside to at least moderate the situation and then slowly work toward either sustaining the gains or improving it. But again, the story is very bleak there, because 2-3 days back, we almost even lost access to internet, because that was the last hope of getting the education. So I think there is lots of details in it, and we discussed this 4 years in Geneva, in Antalya, in here, and in Albania. Women movement have been the forefront of it, but also civil society and democratic forces, which a number of people sitting here is a member of this civil society groups, have done their work. But we have reached a point where the civil society in exile has sort of reached the peak of what they can do. And I think the title that I want to put for this discussion is, what practical step can the civil society and democratic forces take to bring some positive change within Afghanistan? I know it's a tall order. We are not Nepal, we are not Bangladesh, we are not Sri Lanka. But I think there is still that imagination. There is still that demand. Sometimes, unrealistically, from our international colleagues, I met a very senior ambassador the other day in Geneva. She was telling me why the Afghan men, why the brothers and the fathers are not fighting for the right of the education of their girls, their daughters. I mean, it's a very valid question, but probably not in a situation where those people of Afghanistan, those people who are left to fight with a very brutal regime. But it's a valid question. If there was social change in the past 20 years, why can't we stand for the right of the daughters and the sisters? Will people stand for the right of the access to internet or not? I think that's a very important question. It has maybe academic aspect to it, but we leave the academic. We come to a very practical aspect of it, because we have Zahra Joya here. She's been the forefront of both media, but also women movement of Afghanistan, which is a flicker of hope still in the fight against the Taliban, because if there is one major reason the Taliban have not been recognized, is their gender apartheid policy. Some countries in the West, even they wanted to recognize that, they feel shy, because some of them so-called have feminist foreign policies. So I think that's one reason. So she will tell us about that. And then we have Masood Amer, that he's very much involved in the Afghanistan Civil and Democratic Forces Network. Of course, his background in the UN in the past, but also in Antalya process. And Ustad, who is also dealing in another aspect of it, which is the FTF, which is working with Doha and the others. So I will start with Zahra, John, and I will let her give us few thoughts, but I think let's make it more interactive. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much, Ambassador Andisha, and hello everyone. Thank you for listening, and thank you for being in these 2 days. I know. Okay. Okay. I know you have heard a lot from since yesterday, and it's sometimes it's exhausted for all of us. It's terrifying to repeat ourselves again and again and again, to hear repeatedly about what is going on in Afghanistan. But we have no choice. We have to deal with this, and we have to find a solution for that. Before I speak about the question that Ambassador asked me, I would like to highlight briefly a few points here. Since most of us in this room are from Afghanistan and are Afghans, and it is very important for us to speak openly and honestly to each other, and to ask our question after 4 years, where we are, what we are doing, and what needs more to be done for the solution of Afghanistan crisis. Of course, in this moment, we don't have much in our hands, Mr. Ambassador. It is, I think it is our responsibility to act. And at the end of the day, we have to send a warning message to the Taliban, to the others, to the other groups, that they are violating law and social justice and breaking every principles, including international law. That the famous saying that says that you have the watch, the clock, but we have the time. But unfortunately, at the moment, we don't have no time, no clock, no watch. Everything is on Afghanistan under the Taliban rule. So the first thing that I would like to say, that very sadly, it's very unfortunate, Afghanistan has always been a very interesting subject for the newsrooms. It's a very convenient ground for implementing the counter-terrorism programs, and a very useful country for the regional countries like Iran, China, Russia, and other countries to use for free the people of Afghanistan and the human resources and human forces in the country. The question, I think, we raised a lot of questions during these 2 days, but this is another question, that how we can somehow break this cycle. The cycle of violence, the cycle of abuses, and the cycle of the violation of the rights of people of Afghanistan. Unfortunately, this country, Afghanistan, for its people, particularly for women and girls, is a country that has always been kind of a wound. The pain and the suffering of Afghanistan have almost and mostly targeted the people, the ordinary people, and it is really, for me, as young generation of Afghanistan, live in the 21st century. It's really heartbroken, and feel like that my generation, my identity, my gender, my dignity in my own country are under attack. The second thing that I would like to say, it's what is happening in today Afghanistan under Taliban rule is gender apartheid. With no doubt, it's clearly gender apartheid. When women have been erased from public life, no education, no work, even it's really hard for women to get out from their house to get a fresh air or go to a park. And here I am requesting all of you, please, when you describing the situation of women of Afghanistan, use the term of gender apartheid. This is from women perspective, from women point of view, women issues point of view, is clearly gender apartheid. Whatever the people are shying, accepting or not, it is what it is. The third thing, I think, of course, Afghanistan issue is complex. It's boring, it's tiring, but resolving of the crisis is not impossible. What is needed is more attention, passion, and persistence, and also unity, of course. It's not about Afghan people unity. It's about international community unity. We have to ask our allies, our international community. Afghanistan is part of this world. This is a big shame for all of us across the world, that in the 21st century, in the time of AI, girls have, and women in Afghanistan, they are denied from their basic rights of education. And this is very, very harmful, not only for Afghanistan now, and also for the rest of the world. If this silence continue like over the past 4 years, it happened, I think gender apartheid will normalize, and the violation of international law, principles, and human rights, and the social justice and everything will be acceptable, not in Afghanistan, but the rest of the world as well. I think I would stop here, but I will discuss further if there is a question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Zahra John. Now, without further ado, Omar Sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sib, and thank you very much, the organizers of the conference, Nishad Saib, and congratulations to everyone involved in the process of combining those different roadmaps. And I cannot emphasize, the importance of, bringing all these different perspectives into a single document is a daunting task. And everyone involved, I think, deserves huge congratulations. So I come from a practitioner background, and I was part of the very early stages of state formation in Afghanistan. I lived in Afghanistan throughout my life, so I have seen the first Taliban regime in the civil war, and then the post 9/11 occurrence in Afghanistan. I was kind of insider, but also outsider, because I was working with an international agency which was involved in significantly in shaping the process of state building and state formation in Afghanistan from very early stages. So some of the blames could be also addressed into the international actors. The way the policy recommendations, the support, the process. I think it was a joint venture. It wasn't the Afghans alone. It was, the donor community, the international multilaterals. All of those actors have been part of this development process in the last 20 decades or so in Afghanistan. When I joined in 2002, the first program we had was disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration, the famous or infamous DDR. Some people, blame that program for breaking down the social structure of resistance in the country. However, it was a program aimed to move Afghanistan towards stability. What I remember in that program was, at that time, the director of the program asked me, we need to put together a team of 40 people to be deployed to different parts of Afghanistan for launching the program. It was very hard to find 40 people who could have some English skills and also some computer literacy. So I was trying very hard, I couldn't find. Then he asked me, Masood, go find some smart Afghans. So
lots of smart, but smartness cannot be defined by English and computer.
So somebody who could work with computer. So I went around Kabul University.
Taliban are the best smart people now in the world.
Yeah. That is how hard it was to just find 40 individuals who could be recruited with a very decent salary by the UN, I think. And now you compare that with the the situation now, I mean, somebody said this morning that this room is an example of the process of, I mean, evolution of generation in Afghanistan, that we have so many PhD and masters and highly educated individuals around the world. So it has been a process. For me, looking at the state building, I think there was a lot of focus on state institutions, but the process also involves transformation of society. So it is a process of development. It's not just institutions that we focus. It was always very tricky for us in the UN to balance how much resources should go to these different ministries, parliament, and civil society. And civil society was always left as an afterthought. So it was in the program like any other thing, so you can give it to some NGOs. The reason for that was lack of understanding of the importance of working with these different institutions at different levels, but also over time, I think you might also agree with me that there was a great deal of misunderstanding, misconception of what constitutes civil society. Are they all, only those, as we say, projet Giran, and no one knows what happens. And that misconception is still there. If you talk to the ordinary Afghans, they say, oh, civil society, I mean, those who escaped left us alone, and those who were taking projects and no one knew what they were doing. And I think it comes back to this whole issue of accountability and transparency. Of course, I mean, there's a lot to learn from how international aid was delivered in the last 20 years. I mean, there were NGOs directly working with donors without accountability to anybody. And I think there was huge weakness in the regulatory system in the government, that they didn't know what to do. They established a ministry for overseeing NGOs, which turned into more of a bribery system for the NGOs to pay and get their certificate. But there was no transparency. No one knew how much they got for the project, what happened to the project. So lack of transparency, and I don't think we can blame people for this kind of misconception and kind of hostile approach to civil society. But civil society is not just NGOs, of course, but generally people are kind of putting everything under the NGO banner. So I think that is an important challenge that we need to overcome. We need to address this gap and see if we could put more transparency and accountability in whatever we are doing. So coming to the current situation, I think there was a lot of discussion this morning about the appalling situation that we are already witnessing under the current Taliban regime. So I'm not going to go over, all those. I mean, we already know the situation is quite appalling, very dark. I mean, with this cutting off the internet, I think Afghanistan might turn into a black spot on the planet. I hope this doesn't happen, but if I think what we have seen over the last 4 years is a kind of incremental oppressive approach that the Taliban have gradually implemented their oppressive policies. So, I wouldn't be surprised if it happens, because there is no accountability and there is no pressure on them. I think this will be really a turning point, because the country will be cut off and we wouldn't be able to work with those civil society organizations that Mr. Andisha mentioned inside Afghanistan, which are a crucial part of the efforts that we are doing outside Afghanistan. So one testimonial of the maturity of civil society processes, the formation of civil society, the evolution of the processes, the resistance. People like Ms. Joya and all of you, who are part of different processes of resistance, I think is just showing that Afghanistan is not the same Afghanistan that we saw, post 2001, which was difficult to find people with a university degree, but now we have so many bright Afghans around the world. And access to information, women's voices around the world. So these are all evidence that Afghanistan is not the same Afghanistan. So I hope that in the composite roadmap, it's not just the political aspiration and manifestation of those different groups, but it's also a document that reflects the principles that Afghans have fought for the last 2 decades to maintain. So those principles should not be forgotten and should not be compromised. And the role of civil society, I think, in that roadmap is also extremely important. If we could reflect that. And last but not least, we are all individuals or individual organizations. We can make an impact, but if we are working together, we maximize our impact. So that's why these umbrella organizations such as the one, the Civil and Democratic Forces Network, or the New Afghanistan network that Mosaic is promoting. So those are very important structures that we can join and work together. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله و اصحابه الذين اتبعوا الهدى. جا داره که در قدم اول از مؤسسه موزاییک تشکر بکنیم که یک کنفرانس خیلی خوب علمی پژوهشی را اینا ترتیب دادن. تشکر بکنیم و همچنان شما دو روز به طرف بسیار حوصله‌مندی صحبت‌ها را گوش گرفتین. ما در رابطه با نقشه راه قراره که برای ما یک نسخهش ارسال شد، مطالعه کردم. تقریبا از چندین احزاب افغانستان نقشه راهشان یک جا کردن، مطالعه کردن، بالاخره نقاط مشترک و نقاط مخالفش اینا جمع آوری کردن. قراره که معلوم بشه نقاط مشترکشان یا نقطه مشترکشان بسیار نزدیک است، زیاد است، فیصدیش بالا هست. اما تجربه ای که من در افغانستان دارم، تقریبا 7 سال در کمیسیون مستقل نظارت بر تطبیق قانون اساسی بودم و از پیش 10 سال در کمیسیون اصلاحات اداره به صفت رئیس تقنین بودم. تجربه ای که من دارم، افغانستان همه ما میبینیم که 20 سال به نام دموکراتیک در افغانستان کار شد، اما آخر نتیجه ضرب 0 شد. سببش چی بود؟ نقشه راه ها دائما از خارج به افغانستان می آمد. استراتژیک پلان ها یا پلان استراتژیک از خارج به افغانستان می آمد و تقریبا اونا مردم افغانستان خبر نمیشد که چی هست. این نقشه راهی که فعلا ترتیب شده در حقیقت پوینت های مثبت خوبی داره، اما ما پوینت های مثبتش بالاش یک چیزی را زیاد کردم که او در افغانستان ضرورت هست. البته چیزی تحمیلی نیست، یعنی چیزی یک پیشنهاد است، یک مفکوره هست. اگر دوستای ما، پروفسورای ما، دانشمندای ما به نظرش این جهت بگیرن، ما فکر میکنیم که شاید در آینده ما بتونیم که جلوی از یک سلسله افراطیگری ها و تفریطگری ها را بگیریم. ما گفتم نقشه را بر اساس اصول و مبنای اسلامی باشه، یعنی اصولش بعضی مبنای اسلامی داشته باشه. این دو فایده می داشته باشه. یک، که مردم را قبول میکنه. چرا کشور افغانستان کشور اسلامی هست؟ اگر یک کلمه اسلامی را ما زیاد نکنیم یا یک دلیلی از قرآن و سنت نداشته باشه، مردم را با آسانی قبول نمیکنه و نکردن. و دوم است که ما یک تعداد احزاب معتدل، احزاب که افراطگران نیستن و اون را در کنار خود جمع کرده میتوانیم. به ما اساس ما چند اصول ذکر کردیم. البته فقط مجرد یک اصول است، بالاتر کدام گپی نیست. یکی اول در قدم اول ما مسئله عدالت در نظر بگیریم.
من میگم
جناب عالی هستند. بله. عدالت هست. در افغانستان چیزی که نبوده عدالت بوده. عدالت قرآن به ما چون به ایمان یک مسلمان میگه که قرآن میگه که ان الله یأمر بالعدل والاحسان. میگه عدالت ستون اصلی حکومت داری هست. وقتی حکومت بر اساس عدالت باشه، چرا ما در سال 19 در سال 2009 به مالزیا رفتیم به خاطر آوردن صلح در یک کشور کثیر الملت. افغانستان تقریبا 32 زبان هستند. امی 32 زبان هر کدامش در افغانستان حق دارند. در افغانستان چرا یک بلوچ چرا رئیس جمهور نمیشه؟ چون عدالت نیست. وقتی که عدالت باشد دموکراسی هم میره که هر کسی که رأی بیشتر برد و هر کسی که با ملت خدمت کرد باید او رئیس جمهور شود. مثلا در امریکا یک سیاه‌پوست رئیس جمهور میشه، در افغانستان یک مسلمان شده نمیتونه. اما هیچ چرا که او از قوم عالی نیست. دومش شورا و مشورت هستند. قرآن به ما به صراحت میگه امرهم شورا، اما ما هیچ وقت شورایی نداشتیم. اگر شورا هم داشتیم کسانی بودن که اونا صاحب پول و دارایی و این گپا بودن. ما از دانشمندای خود شورا نداشتیم. مثلا فعلا دم چهرهایی که فعلا میبینیم یک امید است به خدا در حقیقت. خیلی دانشمندای خوبی داریم. چرا از این دانشمندا از هر نوع باید ما یک نفرها را دعوت میکردیم، شورا میداشتیم و شورا داشته باشیم. دیگه چیزی که هست حفظ جان و کرامت انسانی هست. در افغانستان چیزی که ارزان است فقط جان است. از چه کسی خوشم نامده اون را فردا میکشیم. در حالی که قرآن کریم میگه من قتل نفسا بغیر نفس فکأنما قتل الناس جمیعا. اگر یک انسان شما بدون گناه بدون او فساد باشه، یعنی بدون غیر قانونی بکشید، مثل که تمام دنیا را کشته باشین. خون یک انسان مساوی خون تمام دنیا باشه. در افغانستان میلیون ها انسان کشته میشه. آیا خونی چی در کجا میرسه؟ ششمش یا سیومش هر چی که شمارش مهم نیست، تسامح و عفو هستند. باید تسامح و عفو، باید بخشش. ما یک کمیسیون ایجاد بکنیم با سر تا سر افغانستان، برین هر چی که گذشت ما بعدش احتیاط بکنیم. برای مردم ما عفو بخشه بیان بریم. چرا در قرآن چی میگه؟ فمن عفا و اصلح فاجره علی الله. کسی که عفو بکنه و اصلاح بکنه و اجرش به خدا میباشد. اصلاح از دیدگاه اسلام استپ با استپ است. در قدم اول اصلاح خود نفس است. قرآن چه میگه؟ کو انفسکم. تو نفس تا اصلاح بکن، نفس تا حمایت بکن، نفس تا وقایه بکن. وقایه از مواد مخدر باشد، هر چی که به نفس ضرر میرساند. چرا؟ در نزد خداوند از کعبه کده یک نفس انسان مبارک هستند. این را قبول کنین. به خاطر کعبه را از بین ببرید دوباره جور میکنی، اما یک انسان نکشته دوباره جور کرده میتونی؟ زنده کرده میتونی؟ نمیتونی. در نزد خداوند حدیث است که یعنی شرف یک انسان، ارزش یک انسان بالاتر از ارزش کعبه است. دیگه چی هست؟ حرمت خیانت و فساد. حرمت خیانت و فساد در افغانستان به هیچ میزان برابر نمیشه که خیانت به کدام حد است. از خرد تا بالا ما خیانت میکنیم. خیانت کردن. اگر خیانت نمیکردن افغانستان به این سرنوشت دچار میشد. ما شما یک قسم وطنگرا میشدیم؟ نمیشدیم. یعنی تا قرآن کریم آمده همیشه چیزایی که من میگم همیشه پیشنهادات چیستن. یک، در قدم اول آتش بس صورت بگیره. چه آتش بس که در سنگر گرم است، چه آتش بس تبلیغاتی باشه. علیه یک دیگر تبلیغات کردن به نفع هیچ کسی نیستن. چرا که پیغمبر خدا صلح حدیبیه ما هم اگه شاید خبر داشته باشیم با مشرکین قریش آتش بس کرد. صلح به وجود آورد برای که خونریزی نشود. و اقداماتش هم است که دیگه فاز دومش گفتگو باید صورت بگیره. گفتگوی ملی میگین، گفتگوی مردمی میگین، به هر شکل که میشه. باید ما با تک تک انسان ها از نزدیک بنشینیم، صحبت بکنیم، در دلش پرسان بکنیم که تو چرا میجنگی؟ تو چرا خیانت میکنی؟ چه ایل آخری گفت. اقدامات صورت بگیره. دیگه مسئله عدالت و آشتی. بعد ما یک آشتی رو به وجود بیاریم. یک شوخی بکنم. ما در سال 2009 به مالزیا رفتم مثل گفتم. باز امرای نخست وزیر مالزیا دیدن کردیم. همین قسم داشتیم. در پهلویش یک یهودی بود، یکیش مسیحی بود، یکیش هم بودایی بود و خودش 4 نفر مسلمان. گفت ای مردم افغانستان، ای مردم عراق و ای مردم سودان، 3 کشور بودیم. گفت ما امرای بوداییزم، یهودی و مسیحی در پهلوی هم ششتیم. شما مسلمان هستین، حتی یک مذهب هستین، چرا جور نمیایین؟ ما بسیار بد تاثیر کرد. ما گفتم اجازه باشه یک پیشنهاد دارم، شوخی کردم. گفتم ما تقریبا 13 نفر از چند وزارت ها با هم یک جا رفته بودیم. ما گفتم چی یک شوخی به طور شوخی گفتم یک پیشنهادم شوخی رقم هستن. گفت چطور؟ ما گفتم بیاین شما یک تعداد دخترها رو به افغانستان بتین، ما یک تعداد دخترها رو به شما میتیم، نسل تبدیل شود. تبدیل نسل خودش گفتم یک راه مثبت است. بعد همه همونجا خنده کردن. همه با چند نفر دخترام شوخی کردیم. دیگه مسئله بازسازی است. بازسازی البته انسانی است. خانه جور کردن آسان است. انسان جور کردن کار آسان نیست. باید ما توانمندسازی بکنیم. اقدامات شکل داشتیم. ما بسیار خوبه. مسئله من روان کردم، تو انگلیسی روان کردم، برای انگلیسی روان کردم. قانون اساسی حکومت اسلامی عادل. این قانون‌های افغانستان یکشم به درد نمیخورن. ما در حالی که عضو کمیسیون قانون اساسی هستم، ما گفتم در 60 مورد اشتباهات وجود داره. حتی برای ما خبرنگار گفت تو با کدام جرأتی را میخواد در حالی که در کمیسیون قانون اساسی. ما گفتم باشه مشکل نیست، ما حقیقت میگم. در این قانون افغانستان یک قانون کاپی شده هستند. ماهیتی از او از افغانستان بسیار بیرون هستند. مردم افغانستان این یک قانون اساسی را کار ندارند. یک قانون اساسی باشه که در افغانستان همگی احساس مالکیت بکنه و همگی همین 32 قوم است یا 32 زبان است در این قانون خود پیدا بکنه. همچون قانون اگه ما ایجاد کردیم بعد از اون قانون دوام پیدا میکنه. قانون امریکا 260 سال 250 سال دوام داره. چرا قانون افغانستان 10 سال دوام نمیکنه؟ دیگه اینا فکر میکنیم که مسئله شورا از قوای مقننه ایگه پاشه میگذاریم. بله. زنده باشه.
Thank you very much. There are a few points that I wanted very quickly to translate of what Ustad has mentioned. Of course, giving his background in the Afghanistan Constitutional Commission and also Afghanistan Civil Society, and his scholarship, in the Islamic jurisprudence. So what he has put his ideas and proposals in writing, which is very good for the composite roadmap. I think the major parts are that, because Afghanistan being an Islamic country, the fundamentals of Islam has to be included in this roadmap. And justice, of course, is a big word. There is justice from the time of Plato and Aristotle and all of that. So that element is very important to be inside. And then karamat insani, which means human dignity. And I think when you're talking about human rights and human dignity, certainly is part of it. One thing that the Ustad is mentioning, that of course that's a difference between the human rights community, which I have also a difference in it, and our religious scholars, that what to do with the reconciliation. It's a question of reconciliation, truth and justice, reconciliation or transitional justice. I think these are the three different elements that you have to put in this, but we have to reach an agreement on it, that what could be the way forward. So, I mean, ceasefire and those things, I think we are talking to an enemy which does not accept any of those things, but to have the willingness in the past 4 years, there have been lots of willingness for discussions, for negotiations. But to start us going one step further, he said there has to be a ceasefire also in the narrative, on the media. But I think the only medium that the resistant forces, including the women and civil society right now has, is the media. And even giving that up so much in advance, I think is a very balanced proposal at this stage. But again, I would leave it for people to contemplate on it. So with that, so thank you very much. So we'll close it here, from our side. I thought it would be dialogue, still is a monologue, but I will open it up for the Q&A. Thank you very much. We'll start from here and then to there. You decide between yourself, You get one question.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Wonderful discussion roundtable. Since 2 days, whatever we are discussing here, in many ways we are discussing within the same box of institution building with the same box of constitutionalism and state building and everything. I want to broaden a little bit. I don't want to take much time because I don't want to lecture on this matter, but a little bit broaden and then I'll give you my view. Because whatever we do, it is within the framework of modernity that emerged in Europe. In Europe, modernity, when we talk of modernity, it had three important...
So this is a sawal or a comment?
No, I'm just giving my view, but then I'll
So, yeah.
yes, I'm just giving I think it's important for the sake of audience, otherwise it's not that I will speak here. In Europe, we had the rise of philosophers, thinkers, and scientists. That was important for the economy. And this was also important for the industrial economy. And then we had also the industrial economy was the second corner, the second pillar, and the third one was politics. In politics, we had the soft politics, parliament, state, and the hard one, which was military. In Afghanistan, we didn't have this. Even up to today, none of these pillars we ever ended. So in the absence of all this, we tried to emulate modernity and modernism and state building and in Afghanistan. So instead of nation state, we got tribal state. Instead of modernity, education and science technology become a curse for Afghanistan, not a blessing. Whether it was madrasa or modern education. As I spoke yesterday, we got the curse of modernity. Today as well, in my view, it's not the problem of the why constitution doesn't work or how many mistakes it has got or everything else. So the reason is we don't have a country didn't build and didn't have these preconditions for having a modern nation state in Afghanistan. So in my view, and as I proposed as well, in my view, the people of Afghanistan and as well as the politicians, for any future Afghanistan that we want, we need a radical act of imagination. And without that radical act of imagination, whatever we do, we will still be reasoning within the same boxes which we have experienced over the past 30 or 50 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a radical act of imagination, but I like the act with imagination because it has to be together, not only imagination. Shall I sit and then?
اندیشه سے بخش از سوال من برمیگرده به دکتر سید متقی برای انگلیسی پرسان کنم دو فارسی. Okay, thank you. فارسی انگلیسی. Okay. دکتر سید متقی عزیز بسیار تشکر از بیانات مقبولتان. سوال من این بود که دیروز اینجا من بحث بسیار کوچک مطرح کردم بین جدایی نهاد دین و دولت. The separation of religious institutions and governance institutions. و یکی از مشکلات تاریخی که ما در افغانستان داشتیم این بوده که نهاد دین، نهاد فرهنگ و سنت‌ها همیشه آمده در امور مدرن مداخله کرده. در امر دولت، در امر حاکمیت و در امر حکومت. و طالبان یک مثال بسیار شدید، افراطی و رادیکالی از نوع حکومت دینی در افغانستان است که امروز بهترین وزیران می‌دارد. من بگرند شما را دارم شریعت خواندیم. I have studied law and jurisprudence, Islamic jurisprudence. و سوال این است که شما چطور فکر میکنید که ما با basic principles of Islam, I agree with the basic principles of Islam to be incorporated within our laws and constitution, because without that it will not be accepted in our society. We are a religious society and a Muslim country. But my question is, از نظر شما امون پرنسیپالا، نورما و معیارهایی که از متن فقه اسلامی و تاریخ حاکمیت اسلامی میتونه بیرون برآید و در یک کانتکست جهانی ما را در امر دولت سازی و حاکمیت کمک بکنه چی است؟ I cannot find personally those things. In terms of ethics, in terms of principles, in terms of our beliefs, I love it. I respect it too much. But I cannot see those kind of principles to come and work with our current condition or to address the problems that we have. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
سلام وقت همه بخیر. نام مدیر احمدی است. من سوال خواهد فارسی مطرح می‌کنم. سوال ما مشخصاً به جناب پروفسور متقی مخاطب جناب متقی هستم. من اولا می‌خواستم زیاد کوشش نمی‌کنم در بحث‌ها سهم بگیرم وقتی که من به عنوان یک شاگرد خوب وقتی بحث‌های خوبی میشه برای من جالب است. استاد به نحوی آمدن تمام قوانین و دستاوردهای 20 سال گذشته را گفتن که اگر ما بسیاری یک واژه را به کار ببرم همش مزخرف است، قوانین افغانستان همش بیکار است، به درد نمیخورد. ما فکر میکنم این بسیار یک ادعای بزرگ است و بسیار یک مسئله سنسیتیو و بسیار چالش برانگیز است. همین قوانین افغانستان هم ما شما میدانیم که بسیاری قوانین ما از مصر کاپی شده، بعضی پرینسیپل‌های بعضی اصولش از عراق کاپی شده است و بسیاری در درون افغانستان ساخته شده. مثلا کد جزای افغانستان اخیراً بسیار سرش تلاش شد، کار شد، زحمت کشیده. من فکر میکنم یا باید به نحوی تعریف کنه دیگه که تمام قوانین افغانستان چیزی نبوده قابل تطبیق نباشد. یک تعداد زیاد قوانین افغانستان در درون افغانستان توسط گروه‌های مختلف، توسط حقوقدانان، توسط جامعه مدنی در واقع رفت شد و بالاخره قانون تطبیق شد. مسئله دیگر که استاد گفتن یک سلسله مفاهیم بسیار ایدئال فلسفی و سیاسی و کلی را استاد بیان کردن به عنوان اصول، مثلا عدالت، مثلا فساد، مثلا مبارزه با فساد و غیره. من فکر میکنم در 20 سال جمهوریت در افغانستان تمام گروه‌ها، جامعه جهانی، نهادهای مذهبی، دولت افغانستان، پارتنرهای بین‌المللی همه تلاش میکردن که با فساد مبارزه کنند، عدالت تامین شود، صلح در افغانستان برقرار شود. من فکر میکنم مبارزه همه یک درست مشکلاتی وجود داشت، اما همه با یک هدف در افغانستان صلح بیاید، عدالت تطبیق شود و جنگ. حالا سوال مشخصا در 30 ثانیه اگر سوال مطرح بکنم، آیا فکر نمی‌کنید که همین گونه بوده؟ آیا تلاش جامعه جهانی برای عدالت نبوده؟ یا به این شکل بس قوانین هم مطرح کردن نمیخوام تکرار کنم نظرتون در مورد.
Thank you very much. So if there is نه هیچ مهم نیست اون ترجمه شد. نفر خود نفس آور. استاد چه میگم به انگلیسی کم اخبار رو باز کرده. سوال دیگه اگر نیست سوال there was 2 questions from Mr. Muttaqi and you got part of the first question. The second question what he said like the laws were not implementable and justice, anti-corruption has to be part of it. So the question was that it was part of it. It was part of these laws, part of the institutions, and you cannot completely in a blanket term disregard everything which has been great in the past 20 years. So if there's any questions, any comments, on the way forward or the summer side, okay, yeah, you can get this.
Not 5 minutes.
No.
So I'm just wondering.
Individual.
I'm just wondering if the Qanun had an issue or the implementation had an issue. And Mr. Muttaqi, Mr. Abubakar, Professor Abubakar Muttaqi, I'm just wondering.
Not related to Amir Khan Muttaqi. Not related to Amir Khan Muttaqi.
Different person.
So I'm just wondering, my Farsi is very weak, so.
No, I'll translate it.
Yeah. I'm just wondering that whatever usul you said that how for usul for making Afghanistan a just society, insaf pasand mashra, adalat, shura, and aman, and bakshish, khiyanat, avoidance, whatever. Do you think that these things are already in the Qanun of Afghanistan, the constitution? But Afghanistan constitution was never given a fair chance for implementation. What do you think? The problem is with the Qanun or with the implementation?
استاد سه رقم سوال مشخص. یک سوالی که از مدرسه شریفی من گرفتی بحث رسیدی که
دو سوال دو جواب نگرفتن.
بحث یعنی هدف سکولاریسم، هدف از که ما تقریبا در اکثریت جوامع اسلامی در یک جایی رسیدیم که آیا دین کاملا تطبیقش میتونه یک جامعه مدرن قرن 21 و پیش ببره. بخاطر چیزی که ما در اکثر کشورهای اسلامی می‌بینیم ما حوزه دین باقی میمونه به حوزه فردی افراد و حوزه به اصطلاح جامعه مدنی و اینا یک حوزه شریک است که بالندار ما شما در کالج جیزس اینجا شدیم. It's an institution which is the name is Jesus. So these are part of, it's becoming part of your culture. But how much is it part of the culture, how much part of the day-to-day? و سوال از اونا می بود که تمام قانون شما رد کردین که قوانین افهام مزخرف بود و 60% قانون تطبیق نبود اینا، ولی با سوال از اونا مرتبط میشه سوال استاد که میگن که آیا مشکل در قوانین بود یا مشکل در تطبیق قانون؟ به خاطر که قانون اساسی افغانستان ماده دومش است که میگه که
فصل دوم
هیچ قانونی در اینجا نمیتونه که مخالف باشه. این که موافق یا او به شکل نگاتیو شه، یعنی میتونه که چیز نو باشه ولی اگر در مخالفت قرار نگیره. پس به این اساس سوالش مشکل از تطبیق قانون بود یا از خود قانون که گپا شما نو مراد میکنید، ولی مطلب نیست مشخصا سر عرصه سوال یک دقیقه برای
سوال اول، جواب سوال اول
نزدیک رو بگیرید.
جواب سوال اول، شما گفتین که دین از سیاست باید جدا باشه. امی تو نظر امی تو هستم. بله. ببینید ما یک چیز اولم نگفتم. دوم، ما در رساله دکتری ما اصول حکومتداری است، ضوابط پارلمانی. اصول حکومتداری، ضوابط پارلمانی به شکل مقایسوی بین نظام دموکراتیک و نظام اسلامی. بعد در آخر نتیجه. به ما اساس ما در اینجا ساختار را پیشنهاد کردم، وقت نبود که بگویم. یک، شورا و ریاست جمهوری از طریق انتخابات. ببینید به انتخابات ما اعتراف داریم نداریم؟ از طریق انتخابات، اما شکل انتخابات چه قسم باشه او و او رساله پیشنهاد شده است. همین یک. دوم، قوه مقننه. در اسلام قوه مقننه باید وجود داشته باشه. تنها مسائل اصول دین، مسائل عبادت مستثناست. ما در او اجتهاد کرده نمیتونیم. در مسائل سیاست ببینید در احکام سلطانیه نوشته میکنه که الامامت او ریاست خلافت النبوت فی سیاست دنیا و امور الدین. مگر خلافت یا ریاست، مگر این نبوت سرپرستی از پیغمبری مگر در دو چیز، یکی در سیاست دنیا. ما در رساله خود نوشته کردیم که ممکن دولت بی دین وجود داشته باشه اما دین بدون دولت امکان نداره. دین بدون چرا؟ دین احکام داره. احکام ضرورت به قوه مقننه داره، با قوه اجرایه داره، با قوه قضاییه داره. بنابراین ما قوه مقننه پیشنهاد کردیم که نامش هر قسم میگذاره بگذار، شورا میگذاره، مجلس میگذاره، پارلمان میگذاره، آزاد. اما در اینجا انسان‌های متخصص باید بوده باشن، انسان‌های چیزفهم باید بوده باشن، نه ای که به زور آمده باشن. قوه قضاییه، محاکم باید متخصصی، قانون مدنی باشه، قانون جزایی باشه و قانون فقهی باشه. تمرکز زدایی قانون ما گرفته شده باشه. شورای ولایتی را پیشنهاد کردیم. شورای ولایتی باشه، شورای ولسوالی باشه، شورای قریه باشه.
همین چیزا خوب بود آلا.
نه اینا میگه که جداست نگه نه. حقوق اساسی، حقوق اساسی هست. تمام از اینا در اسلام هست. وقتی در اسلام باشه پس جدایی نیست، پس جدایی وجود نداره. آمدیم سر از که سوال شما باشه. جواب ما قانون را رد نکردیم. ما تنها ملاحظه بالای قانون اساسی بودم. بالای قانون اساسی است.
60 مورد در قانون اساسی قانون چی؟ مزخرف.
یعنی مزخرف معنای شبیه شاید من بازی بلفظ شده باشه، یعنی ای که قانون
چیزی نفهمیدم مزخرف چی میشه؟
خورج که شما تعبیر میکنید بکنید. هدف ما منظوری ما اینا بوده که یعنی قانون متعادل نبوده، هدف نیست، متوازن نبوده.
مثلا یک دو ماده شمی
مثلا در روز آمده یک چند زبان رسمی گفته، چند زبان رسمی نگفته. مثلا مسئله تحصیل، مسئله تعلیم، مسئله خصوصا حتی قوه قضاییه، اون چیزا که در قانون گفته اونا عملا هیچ تطبیق نشده. تطبیق نشده. آیا سوال شما جوابش نیست که مشکل در قانون وجود نداره؟ در هیچ زمان مشکل موجود نمیداشته باشه. مشکل در تطبیق بوده. تطبیق درست صورت نگرفته و تطبیق هم یا واسطه بوده، اوجا ضوابط بود نبوده، بلکه روابط بوده. میباشین قانون من گرفته شد دام
طالبا کنم چیزا
نمیفهمم والله کلام زهرا نمیفهمم.
اوکی There's a question there. But the answer was that, look, he is pro sort of mixed government where you have the principles of shura, which is reflected in parliament, provincial councils and district councils, and then in terms of the laws, I think they agree that the problem was probably in some parts in the constitution itself. Again, it's asking for more. I thought it's more. It should be less. No, he's saying it was less. It should be more. But then also, the problem was the implementation of it. The implementation, otherwise, constitution itself had this very good part. Perception. Yes, please.
Hello, hi, this is Nadia from Hard Work, and I have a question for Zahra Joya. So I work currently with with 40 Afghan women rights defenders. We do leadership training with them. Through that, it's a personal leadership training. It's very intimate, very vulnerable. So we hear a lot of the challenges that women are struggling with. So if you could envision the perfect government where women have a real equal right, what is it that women really need? If you would also allow yourself to really speak to them, and I'm not talking just education, because it's just the tip of the iceberg. What about childcare? What about shared responsibility? What about shared financials? That the finances are split between women and men. So I would love to hear what your thoughts are on this.
Thank you very much. This is a very good question. I think the lack of education is one of the very important issues that women of Afghanistan are facing. Basically, more than 60 or 70% of Afghan women, they don't have access to education. And also, Afghanistan is a male domination, unfortunately. Our ulamas, our scholars, they are going and making a deal with different countries to let's exchange the girls to another country, or let's exchange. This is a very serious issue. Families, when they have a conflict to each other, they are making a deal. They are exchanging the girls to each other, and finally they will arrive in a peace. This is the very male domination and unfortunately patriarchy society that we are facing. So in Afghanistan, I had this privilege to meet some of the expertise and judges from South Africa, and they said, when during the apartheid fight, they said, "Oh, we will, solve the gender issue after the ending of the apartheid." But they said it was a very, lesson for them. They made a mistake. They didn't stand for their rights at the beginning. And for Afghan women, I think it's the same. When we are going to make a future for Afghanistan, the first thing is that the rights of women should be protected. Women should be on the table. The men cannot speak on behalf of me and on behalf of other women. And we have to talk about ourselves. This is one of the things that we creating narrative for Afghan women. Thank you.
Yeah, the woman should not be in the menu, she should be on the table. Okay, no, sorry. Carry on. I can hear you.
For Mr. Masood Amer, when you hear this, so having a place for the women at the table, how do you personally experience that? how would it be for you, for example, to have really equal rights with a woman? How would that be for you?
You should have asked the Ustad.
No problem.
Okay, I'll take the last question from Ustad Shahrani, and then because we are conscious of our time. Ustad Khan.
I'm very pleased to hear that we need to have a new narrative, especially concerning women. Is apartheid part of that narrative that you think could be effective in bringing women's equality in Afghanistan? Apartheid in South Africa was exclusion, but in Afghanistan it's women's imprisonment within the family compound. Where is the apartheid in that? Or apartheid in Israel is building walls and keeping Palestinians on the other side. I mean, I think we're using the wrong concepts to build a narrative that's impossible to build. So is woman in Afghanistan a social unit, an independent one?
It's
Anywhere?
not.
In Kabul, maybe, but in the villages it is not. Man is not an individual unit or effective unit of social organization in Afghanistan. The only thing is family, and family is patriarchal, as you said. So we need to define our problem in a way that is appropriate to our society. If we don't define it appropriately, we can't resolve the problem. We have to diagnose this. Unfortunately, the NGOs turned this woman is an identity group, not woman is a member of a family that suffers inequality. Afghanistan's problem is finding equality, equal rights to both man and woman within the unit that is at the foundation of our society, and that's family. Family is not being addressed. We may need to address it differently. So that's why I'm saying, will you really consider, telling us, in your perspective, what is the problem in that society? Is woman, how do you get women's rights rather than having NGOs for women? They have built so many of them.
Yeah. Okay, so.
Thank you very much for that very brief but very deep question. In fact, I think the issue of women deserve, additional attention. That's why we have the UN Women at the global level. That's why we had a Ministry for Women Affairs. It's not just the family. There are a lot of inequalities happening within the family. So that is why I can tell you one example. We had shelters for women who were suffering from domestic violences. They had nowhere to go, so they were coming to police and then to the system. And the only way to help them was to put them in those shelters so they can be protected. One of the ministers of justice ordered to close those shelters under the Republic. We need to, when you say we have to diagnose the problem, I think we need to also take a deeper look into the situation of women and men. That's true that we have family. I am absolutely delighted to work. To have a woman sitting next to me or across the table. That's absolutely fine. But I think people might say that you're a city boy or studied somewhere or you have lived in Kabul. But what about people in the provinces? So that's where it comes to education. So we need to work. We need to raise awareness. We need to build capacity, we cannot reverse it. We cannot make, the life in cities to look like villages. So we have to move on and work and restore women's rights in all aspects. One last point from my note is I think we have also a tendency in Afghanistan that we are complicating our case. We think Afghanistan is unique. Every context is unique. There is no doubt. But Afghanistan is not in another planet. We are part of this world. When it comes to the issue of state structure and state, what sort of state, modern state or religious state, I think we are part of this global community. So the Weberian system of state is accepted, but it's prevailing, not just in Afghanistan, it's across the world. I mean, in developed countries or developing countries, I think we have signed up to the basic principles of human rights and international norms. So I think we should, as someone said, you can read a book about riding a bicycle or you can ride a bicycle. So we are overcomplicating, I think, the situation.
Can I respond?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you very much. So, with respect for your opinion, unfortunately, as I said, Afghanistan is a patriarchal society. Women is something like it's all depend on the men, and women mindset, women body, and all the whole life of women. Women are a second citizenship in Afghanistan. The thing is, we want to fight for this patriarchy first. Whatever it's called, we need a revolution, basically. Whatever is called gender apartheid, whatever is called something like under Islamic law, yes, something like from very sensitive things that, as Ustad said, we should everything mention with Islamic things. We need something to wake up the people, and women of Afghanistan, they need some kind of revolution for themselves, and they should stand it. It's no matter which men, I think. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So with this one, we will close this round. The next one, because you already came to me. So thank you very much, and thanks to everybody in the panel. Have a good day.